Welcome everybody to our fall 2025 info session slash open house. This is happening on Zoom. We'll be doing an in-person open house in December if anyone wants to come or is in town. We like the chat window for Zoom. That is like the silver lining of doing this on Zoom. So if you want to type any questions or comments, we will track them. Julia will paste useful links in the chat window. So again, it's a wonderful thing to have on Zoom. So we like to take advantage of it. So you can type the city that you're in, your favorite piece of design, and let's get started. So I am Alan Trochanov. I am the founding chair of MFA Products of Design.
Hi, Alan. I'm Sinclair Smith. I'm a founding faculty member, the director of the Visible Futures Lab, and the incoming acting chair of Products of Design.
Welcome, everybody. Also want to introduce you to Julia Knoll, our director of operations. Hey, Julia.
Hello. It's wonderful to see everybody.
And Erica Chen, our program coordinator. Hello, Erica.
Hello, great to see everyone.
Right. For the agenda tonight, we'll take a quick look at the studio space in the Visible Futures Lab, a few select projects, some of our favorites. We'll go through the curriculum and the mission. You will meet some students and alumni. We will have dedicated moments to talk about our MoMA partnership and our job fair, two incredibly special things that are very differentiating for us. We'll meet some of the faculty. And then at the end, stick around till the end, we are actually going to have a raffle, a trivia question, and you'll have your choice of the winner. We'll have a couple winners of two of the most recent MoMA products. One, the MoMA Sliding Perpetual Calendar, which is incredibly popular, and the latest product, the Modern Geometry Jewelry Stand, both designed by our students, and Sinclair is going to tell you a little bit more about that when we get to that part of the agenda. Sinclair.
Yeah, so before we get to MoMA, I'll tell you a little bit about the space. The MFA Products of Design department is located in Chelsea neighborhood of Manhattan. Our architect was Andrea Steele, and we worked really closely to develop a dynamic space for the department. We are surrounded by Manhattan, down right there in that circle on 21st Street between 6th and 7th Avenues, surrounded by restaurants and galleries. And there's our front office looking out onto the street. And our classrooms are dynamic. We've got modular furniture on wheels. We make a mess. We have lectures. We break out into sessions in living rooms. Our classrooms turn into theaters for lectures. We have flyaway walls. We've got a robust library filled with books on design and culture. And we've got a kitchen in the middle of the space, which forms a wonderful meeting space, and a place to eat and gather for conversation and sketching sessions like you see here. And our bathrooms are creatively adorned. We made the best or worst choice, we're not sure yet, to paint them with chalkboard paint. Um, and um, our studios are really vibrant. We've got a ton of prototyping and all materials, and people make the most of their spaces and are constantly experimenting and putting the ultimate design tool, post-it notes to use, redesigning even their desk lamps.
I love the pictures of the lamps on the lamp.
Yeah. And next door to the department is the Visible Futures Lab that we built at the same time. The VFL also serves all the other MFA programs at SVA and consists of three major spaces. We've got a maker space where we have a lot. Oh, there's Sovic.
So
The physical computing, circuitry, soft goods, clean works, sewing, large format printing, space for craft and a variety of applications. We've got a wood shop with your standard analog tools, table saw, bandsaw, drill press, lathe, chop saws, sanders, and we have a CNC gantry router, and everyone just loves making stuff and walking away with the fruit of their labor. Of course, we also have state-of-the-art digital fabrication with laser cutters, UV printing, 3D printers, And the VFL also hosts a suite of continuing ed classes in building lighting design and synthesizers and digital fabrication, furniture, and we teach CAD courses as well. It's a wonderful place, and we're really lucky to have it right next to POD. Our team consists of me and a wonderful staff led by Shannon Jones, our operations manager. We've got specialists in each of the areas of fabrication. So please check out our website and follow us on Instagram. Thanks, Julia, for putting those in the chat. Al?
Yeah, thanks, Sinclair. Just a few of our favorite sample projects that are really, really quick. You can see so many projects on our website. Just click on the projects and the blog. I don't know if there's 1,000 projects up there, but there's many. So just a few to whet your appetite. One of my personal favorites, Cuddle, designed by Crystal Lowe. She did a project around, well, a very common topic now, people being on their phones, and particularly couples being on their phones. And she designed a very ingenious phone stand that won't charge your phone unless both of you put your phone down, which I think is really fantastic and ought to be on the market. This is Lollytamp Shumang Mu. From several years ago, she had said, this is what people think, healthcare looks like. This is a little closer what it looks like, especially for little kids. And she created a very clever kind of thermometer called Lollytamp. It is a candy center. This is metric for Canadians like me and our international visitors tonight. With a candy center and then M&Ms around the circumference that each have a different melting point. And so you give it to the kid at the beginning of the visit instead of the end. You get a little diagnostic done. And it's a tradition to give kids candy and lollipops in a lot of countries. And I think that this is a really sweet solution here, pardon my pun. Chirp play, actually, Sinclair, this was in your class, Jinny Zhang, as part of her thesis.
Yeah, similarly, Ginny wanted to address the difficulty kids have when they go to the doctor, and she did some really amazing deep research on site, going into labs and hospitals, and developed this stand which makes this chirping sound, is really engaging, has a table for play, and also for kids to put their hands out if they have to have a shot or medicine. She brought the product on location and into hospitals and clinics and did a lot of really amazing, rigorous research. It was exciting to work with her on this.
This is Upgrade Smriti Adya's project. For the thesis, our students do 4 or 5 different design projects. This was one of her 3-dimensional projects. The overall thesis was called Upgrade Designing for Access and Accessibility, actually acceptability around limb loss and limb difference. A lot of the theses really can turn on a sentence that someone says to you. This is Christina, one of her really users and SMEs, subject matter experts, who said that sometimes at night, instead of putting on her prosthetic leg, she actually crawls to the bathroom to pee. And that's something that you can't really unhear as a designer. And very, very quickly, Smriti came up with Swift. And actually don't need to talk during these slides. As we said, the thesis projects, the students do research in prototyping, co-creation workshops, physical, digital, service design, business modeling, pitch decks, experience design, public experiences, websites, podcasts, chatbots, all sorts of things, and then ending in a public presentation. Sorry, actually, you can see a lot of the thesis projects. I think Julie will paste a link in there. In the SVA Theater in Manhattan, it's very live. We do a lot of rehearsing, and we actually bring in a voice coach and a presentation coach. We do a dress rehearsal. The students are very ready, and you can watch every graduate student from the past 14 years, 12 years of projects on our website. This is a little bit of what it looks like. Something very, very special. Lots of people from the design world come. And hopefully families tune in. We always simulcast it. There's some materials from our 10th anniversary, actually. There's a party before and after, and hopefully this is how the students feel after. I think they're happy about the presentation, but they're also happy to be done, I think, with the work. So that's the great. Sinclair, let me throw it back to you.
Yeah, so a little bit about our mission curriculum. We encourage you to take a look at the website where we really try to spell out our mission, our intentions, our differentiation, and go into detail about our courses. We break our mission down into 6 big points. The first is we train multilingual designers. We're not focused on three-dimensionality, interaction, experience, or service, but we look at all 4. We design for the Museum of Modern Art. We put the rubber down on the road and work with some of the biggest and the best. We don't grade. We believe that by not grading, we allow our students the freedom to explore and to go crazy and to be really wild. It's a unique opportunity to design with that level of freedom in school, and so we avoid the restrictions of grades. Our faculty are working professionals. They're out in the field working in consultancies, in industry. They come in to teach and they bring their experience and their professions with them, and we'll hear from some in a bit. We optimize for New York. As you saw on the map, we are really right in the heart of Manhattan. We teach in museums and restaurants and galleries, in offices, in factories. We have a wonderful um, faculty who take our students out into their offices and to their businesses, and we also tour shops and fabrication facilities. And as you just heard, finally, our theses are really like no other. Our curriculum, where our students get hired, they get hired everywhere and they go all over the world. And we'll hear more details about that when we talk about job fair and also with our alumni. Our curriculum breaks down, as I mentioned, into the 4 central media, but we talk about it in terms of making, structures, and narratives. Again, we have no grades, but we are a single track program. Every student takes every course on here. You don't have to choose. It can be a little overwhelming, but we do encourage you to go take a look at what the classes are. They cover the range of physical product design in every semester, digital product design also every semester, social impact and entrepreneurship. We're really interested to make sure our students understand how to get their designs out there and to connect with communities after in the workplace. And Alan, back to you about lectures and studio visits.
Yeah, and actually, Julia, why don't you jump in here?
Sure. So yeah, every semester we have 3 guest speakers and then about 3 studio visits. So those can be anything from like a large agency, like going to our lead-in, or some things that are just so unique to New York, like this foundry that has been around since the 1800s that like
Right.
the general public can't take tours of, but we get to see behind the scenes and how they like pour the brass and make these molds. And yeah, it's really a lot of fun just to take advantage of being in New York and what's around us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we are moving to student spotlight, and Monty, I think you are up.
Okay. So hi, everybody. My name's Monty. I'm a 2nd-year student here at Products of Design. I came to Products of Design because I really was looking for a career change. I had found myself kind of doing design work in non-design roles, and I thought it was time to formally change that. My background is in curation and sales operations. I studied linguistics in undergrad, so I didn't have a formal design background when I came to POD. And this is my dog. Ethan, I saw you have a cat with you tonight, so we're pet friendly. So I'm going to share a little bit about some of the fall classes that I've been taking here in 2nd year and what I've been working on. This is a list of everything that we've been doing. We're in a thesis studio class and a thesis directed research class. So 2 big courses focused on thesis work and getting us into the research. And then we just finished a practicing professional class, design from public policy class, and a product brand experience class taught by Dino, who's on the call tonight. And we'll be looking at a couple of projects that my fellow classmates and I worked on and just did a presentation for on Tuesday, as well as an advanced prototyping and leadership and strategic management class. So this semester I've really jumped into my thesis research, which is looking at the ways we can catalyze wetland conservation. This is what it feels like. It really feels like this. One more time. So across these two thesis courses, which are really focused on both research and making, you can see down in the bottom corner, this is my Obsidian. These are all the notes that I'm taking. It's extremely rigorous. I'm reading a lot. I'm talking to a lot of people. We're doing subject matter expert interviews, lived experience user interviews, tons of prototyping and making during this process. I've been out in the field doing field work, going on hikes in wetlands, conducting bird alongs, attending oyster monitoring events. It's been a lot of fun. And I've found a partner that I can work with throughout my thesis to kind of bring this design work into the real world. This is an organization in my neighborhood that is working on stopping an upzoning from happening on a tidal inlet near us. So I'd love to share some of the work that we just finished in the product brand experience. It's a 10-week course taught by Dino Sanchez. This is a really rapid fire kind of start to finish, creating a product, taking it all the way through branding, design, and then making it, all of the marketing collateral that goes with it and really crafting the story. It was a lot of fun. So I'm going to share a number of projects from first myself and then my classmates. And just to kind of ground you, we began this course by thinking about what home means to us as students. And then we started ideating products around the emotions that we associate with home. Given the time constraints of the class, it's only 10 weeks, including the presentation. So actually 9 weeks. We had to decide fairly early on a design direction and commit. So this first project is called Archival. This was my group. My co-designers were Tashe Brown and Housen Zhang. And we decided that family and friends were what really made a place feel like home, and we wanted to find a way to be more present with each other. So our idea was to create a time capsule where friends and family could collect objects that would commemorate shared memories of time spent together, and then display them in an artful way. A little bit of the prototyping process and behind the scenes, we experimented across a number of different materials, mediums, scales. This is Housen, one of my group mates, testing our framing. And this is where we ended up. So we called the project Archival, and I'll share some images.
I guess, Dino, if you want to jump in with any color commentary.
Yeah,
Dino,
sure.
faculty of this course.
At the end, I had some colleagues at the crit, and I think the first thing I said to them was I was just very appreciative that the students did not do your typical product design, industrial design projects. All of them were. They really pushed the boundaries, especially this one. I had worked with Monty and her team to really just keep pushing themselves. And I think by the looks of it, it's all the projects, but this one specifically were incredibly simple but had high impact. And I think that's the goal of design, really. So really proud of the work.
Thanks. Monty, back to you.
Yeah, just clicking through the images. Dina was really incredibly helpful, and it was really lovely how much he just trusted us to follow our guts and make choices. And I think this is one of the best projects that I ever got to work on. So it was really exciting. This next project is called ARC. It was designed by Jesse Wang, Tong Zhao, and Lauren Palazzi. 3 designers who came together from different design philosophies and different cultures and different ways of seeing and making. And what drew them together was really this shared belief that objects that we live with shape how we experience the world. And that became the foundation for how they moved forward, wanting to reimagine the rituals of everyday life to honor craft and foster connection. So they designed the ARC teapot, It wasn't really about fixing a problem so much as exploring what it might be like to have a different experience in hospitality. Having this open hand gesture of pouring tea became the foundation for the physical object. And then we have Snack, which was a project by Sophia Haas, Eva Mo, and Chinue Zhao. This project was done by 3 students who all came from very far away and found themselves in New York City for grad school, navigating the extremely tiny spaces that they were now living in, and trying to make these spaces feel like home. And one thing that brought them all together was the idea that food and people being together and sharing food is really what made them feel like they were at home. So this product, it's a modular snack storage solution that uses magnets and a magnetized shelf to reduce storage space and make snacking more fun, adding a little bit of play to your day. You can see a few different configurations and different colorways. And then Okio is a project by Sophia Gristenko, Chiguan, and Anna J. These designers really felt like pets were what meant home to them, and they began thinking about the pet obsessed and people who dress like their pets or spend all of their money on their pets, but wanting to do something a little bit more meaningful that fostered deeper connections.
So they created Okio for pet people and their pets, wanting to really just help people be closer to their pets, even in the moments in between when you're not at home. They created actually an entire product line. So we have the Buddy bottle, because you and your dog get thirsty, as well as matching keychain chew toys, and really just they developed a whole world and visual language for pet people. And then this project is called Pendula. Carmel Berg, Rida Zhang, and Lin Zhang. Pendula was developed around the idea that reading can be an invitation, and wanting to really like spark imagination and connect us to one another, redesigning the traditional bookshelf to make it more inviting, less static, less display only. And so the pendula is an offer and an indication of play and a way for 2 people to read together. It works by 2 people agreeing they're going to read books. As soon as one person starts reading, the balance tips and incentivizes the other to reestablish the balance by also engaging in the activity. You can stack more books on your friend's side to encourage them to get through it. But it's a really nice way, even for an individual. Alan suggested this on Tuesday night, which I thought was a really fantastic idea, just a way for an individual to even balance reading fiction or nonfiction, reading for work or for pleasure. So a really lovely intervention. This is my email. If anybody has any questions, you can email me. I'm very happy to give a student's perspective. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Monty. Let's kick it over to, so Monty's a 2nd-year student. Tristan, do you want to share your screen and share a little bit of what you've been up to?
Yeah, I loved all that work. I saw Monty's presentation actually before this call, and I thought that was all her work. And I was just like, who are you? Then I realized it was like a whole student body of work. And I was like, okay, we're good now. Cool. So hi, I'm Tristan. I am a 1st year. I joined about, only 10 weeks ago, but it feels like, I know everyone says it feels like a lifetime. The reasons I'll be class of 2027. Reasons I joined POD is I've worked in design for a long time, but was looking for a broader community where I could actually share that design ideation with other designers, and also kind of build a community around design. Was looking to learn more, was looking to formalize skills. I was in a class today where I think some students shared that, they felt like they had a lot of skills, but they're looking to mature those skills. And I can say this is definitely a place to do that. And then also just learning, how to build a greater point of view as a designer, I think is a great thing to also come to the school for, where you really get challenged on designs, you get help on designs, you get to kind of craft your the directions your designs take and also the language you use to discuss those designs. So this is a great, I think, study also for that. My previous study was actually international business. I studied before in Europe, in Holland, and I studied business there. I from there kind of began in a bit. I pushed off from school, off from international business originally, and I was working alongside my studies as a videographer and photographer. I used to shoot a lot of video work for a lot of different for a jazz company, a lot of different jazz events. So I used to film a lot of different jazz musicians that came through Europe, a lot of big names like Corey Henry or Jacob Collier. And then I kind of branched off from there and began working in design, kind of taught myself animation, began working in branding, and formalized my process through there, working in different capacities in different companies as a content director or creative director or visual designer. And coming to POD, I was just looking to kind of mature those skills even more and bring them together, where I kind of felt that, you may have all these skills, what are you trying to build? And I think from both the digital side and the physical side, what it really is you're building a product. It's how do you take an idea and make it a shippable idea that people can understand, that communicates itself without you having to be in the middle. And so I think that's really what POD speaks to, is being able to build on both of those fronts. I think Alan or Sinclair already mentioned all the different studies and all the different classes that are in the study. The highlighted ones are the ones that we've actually already taken. It's crazy to see how many different disciplines and classes we've already gotten through, and the only 10 weeks that we've been in classes. It's really flown by. There's been a lot of presenting, a lot of critiques, a lot of discussions in class, and it's really been a crazy experience, and yeah, wild to see how much we've accomplished in these past 10 weeks. I'll jump over to affirming artifacts. That's gonna be a class that Alan teaches. We take this from week 1 up to actually tomorrow will be our final presentations. This class is really, how do you take an idea and then just bring it, as far as you can from the original concept. Coming into this class, we did 100 different sticky notes to ideate what we wanted to focus on. I think the prompt from this class was design around the next thing that goes wrong. So you didn't get to pick what you chose. You just had to find out, you just had to look and see what's the next thing that goes wrong in your week and design around that. Originally, I designed around a news event that I felt that there was, a question over how I felt about the news event from misinformation. That quickly morphed into kind of, how do we separate ourselves from digital screens and actually have a digital experience that's not guided by a screen. That quickly changed into a running shoe that lights up and guides your path or guides your way on runs or on walks through the city. And then throughout this class, we ideated storyboards, we did write-ups, we did app design. We took those apps and then also try to figure out how to bring it away from the screens. How can you make it a screenless experience? From there, we even brought it to collaborate with different brands. Like my brand, for example, collaborate with Nike, and we thought, like, how does your idea kind of fit within the context of another brand story, and how do you bring those two things together to actually create a new product or a new idea that's separate from that? And then at the very end, to where we are now, it's also how do you think about your idea in the greater context of like a lab? Like if it was a lab exploring that greater theme of your concept, what else would it make, or what else would it do, or what kind of activities would it be engaged in? So this was that class, and I think it's a great one to kick off with, just because it really takes an idea from start to really anywhere you can go with it. And I'm excited to see where it's going to go next class, and also how I can bring this into other studies. 3D product design, that's going to be taught by Sinclair. This was also just a really formative and, yeah, I would say formative experience. It's exactly opposite from Alan's class. It's very hands-on. It's actually only hands-on. You only use hands. There's no 3D making in a digital context. It's all sketching. It's all modeling with your hand. It's all sanding down foam and using the VFL lab, where you get to cut and basically shape different materials to create your forms for class. We both honed our ability to make things with our hands in a very precise manner, but we also honed the language to actually speak about those things. honing the precise design terminology, not only to communicate what it is we were looking at, but also to kind of garner trust as a designer in terms of the designs you create. You know, how do you talk about something that you've created in a way that actually brings people on board to trust you in a room, which is, you know, sometimes when it comes to working out in the field or in the real world, it's a question of stakeholders. And, you know, what does this person think about your design? How do you bring them on board? How do you also educate them to kind of be able to collaborate with you in terms of making it better or also critiquing it? This was really also a crazy process where you take, you know, a beginning idea, you jump into 3D forms, you add different complexities to those forms, you then bring them back into 2D sketching to remove them even further from the original idea. We do directional models like the one you saw there, and we even morph them to the body to see, you know, how does your product actually interact with the body, not necessarily for the final context of what it is, but how do you make it feel more human in a way that you want to interact with that product or idea? From Becky Stern's class with the making studio, that's really kind of coalesces, I would say, in some ways, a lot from 3D product design and a lot from affirming artifacts, where you take both the digital side of ideas, but you also take the very physicality of making things and you kind of bring them together. In Becky's class, one of the most recent projects we've worked on was taking LEDs and coding with Arduino. Anyways, in this class, I think it kind of combines both disciplines from 3D product design and affirming artifacts. We actually take digital ideas, you take also the physicality of making and bring them together. I think, as I just mentioned, we had a recent assignment where we actually had to bring in Arduino and learn how to code and how to actually affect LED lights in a way that made something meaningful from them. In this project, I used code and LEDs to create a visor that had eyes to mimic Eve, the robot from WALL-E, but also learn how to create change states with button presses to change eyes and change different expressions that the robot might make. Was super kind of also a crazy experience. Again, a lot of making with your hands, a lot of soldering, a lot of unsoldering if you didn't do it correct the first time, which I definitely had a few times of. I see Monty laughing because she probably had the same experience. Yeah, just overall I mean, I don't think I would have ever done any Arduino. I know I would have never done Arduino had I not taken this class. So it's a really cool experience just to kind of know a bit more about that world and also kind of decide, you know, is this for you? Is it more the form making like in Sinclair's class? Like what kind of also are you drawn to? You get to sample a lot of different ideas, but also learn more about those different fields. So those are the three classes that I kind of wanted to touch on because those have been the most, I think, formative in our experience so far. Now we're taking a UX class, which is also a great experience. And I've already written to Erica that it's just been such a eye-opening class and that it's been so great to talk with her and also talk with other people that she brings in to give lectures. Other stuff aside from the classes specifically, you can see on the far left, our trip to Farm 1, which was I think 3 or 4 weeks into the class, where we actually went to a vertical grow farm, learn more about what they do there, but also just think about that full process as a system, which is like, I think, very useful if you ever wanted to develop into a thesis or even explore that more. In the second slide, you can see it's like, you know, it's near midnight, everyone's working late, probably for Alan's homework and affirming artifacts. And it's Yenny's birthday, and everyone brought her a cake and sang happy birthday. More recently is the Dia Beacon trip, where we actually go upstate. We visit Dia Beacon, which is this amazing museum upstate that shares a lot of different artwork and form making and artifacts that really relate to, I think, Sinclair's class specifically. On the next photo, you actually see 100 ideas. This is early on in the studio where we actually had to sketch different ideas on sticky notes and come back to class with 100 ideas, which is maybe sounds harder than it is, but it's quite challenging.
You were also fresh and untired.
Finally,
then.
also the guest lecture by Kristen May. We've had already 2 or 3 guest lectures this year, and they've just been also a really niche and key insight that you know, that explore different topics beyond what the instructors bring in. Takeaways from the first 6 or 10 weeks, I guess we are now 11 weeks. If you'd like to know, really, I think the first semester has really been about running with your designer intuition. In each class, you're kind of challenged to make things quick, make things fast, and break things. And with little research, all the research that we do actually is funneled into specific research classes, which are also kind of guided in a very like interesting UI UX way. We're currently doing that with Antya and Evie, who are focusing our efforts around developing new ideas for the Tinder app, which has been really interesting. But otherwise, the classes are just, come back to class next week with a new idea or a developed idea, and pitch it, and then also like get some critique about it. So that's been really incredible. Number two, that one thing that I've learned more than anything else, I thought I hated meetings. What I actually hated was unprepared meetings. So again, along with running with your intuition and making fast, is also prototyping. That's been really amazing for also having meaningful conversations with instructors, but also other students, where you actually bring things to the table that you can actually critique. It's no questions about ideas, it's questions about physical things that you're showing or digital things that you're showing. So that's been also really incredible to kind of create more meaningful conversations. And the last thing is that, you work in small sprints. You get to develop these ideas that you have every day, and actually work on them. Gratitude. Oh, I was going to mention this one. I was going to say thank you in the beginning of my presentation for Alan for having me on this call. Alan always encourages saying thank you in the beginning of a presentation, not the end, but here I am. And then lastly, again, make with your hands first. I think that's something that Sinclair preaches and tries to instill in students, that, when you want to make something, don't run to the computer, make with your hands first, and really explore the physicality of what you're making before you try to digitize it and try to mass produce it. So yeah, those are my takeaways from the first 11 weeks. I'm sure there are more, but this is all I can, it's been such a blur. This is all I can think back to.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
So thank you for everyone who's on the call. And if you do have any questions similar to Monty, feel free to reach out to me. Or if you're looking for specific questions that I don't have answers to, there's a whole student body of people that I'm sure have different experiences, would be happy to answer.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tristan. Let's throw it over to Sobek.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. This has been kind of a blast from the past, going down memory lane, listening to all these projects. So I'm here to talk about my experiences as an alumni, as well as what I've been up to since POD. But I think to tell that story, I have to share a little bit about my life before products of design. So I was working in finance. I graduated from undergrad with a degree in social science, and classic finance workload, I was spending 60 hours a week at work, which is incidentally less time than I spent in the studio. So for you prospective students out there, get ready. But basically, while I was at JP Morgan working in finance, I kept thinking to myself, should I be spending most of my waking life doing this? And because I was in my 20s and still very idealistic and not at all jaded, I kept thinking, could I help leave the world in a better state than I found it in? And I found myself reading a lot about the influence of physical product design. At the risk of dating myself, this was at around the 5-year mark of the iPhone being released. And so there are lots of retrospectives about how this device fundamentally changed how people access the internet and access their information, and led to a reinvention of a lot of kind of aspects of modern life. And so I became kind of enthralled with this idea of designing physical products that could help make changes in people's lives for the better. And so during POD, I was in an older version of the curriculum that was mentioned already. In affirming artifacts, we had to redesign the next thing we threw out. I threw out a milkshake container and ended up designing a voting and civic education platform that was distributed through fast food restaurants like McDonald's to increase voter turnout. In our design research class, we conceptualized a financial system where instead of using points for things like airplane tickets, people could donate their points to people living below the minimum wage, to let them afford things like cakes for their child's birthday. In product brand and experience, we designed a piece of essential furniture and kit for denim heads, so that they could proudly display their raw salvage denim and clean it in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. But in the backdrop of all of this, 2 weeks before I ever set foot in POD, the person who would become my sister-in-law was involved in a car accident and sustained a spinal cord injury. And so for thesis, And even just for starting design school, I basically became obsessed with this use case, right? If I really believe that design could change lives, then this was a very specific circumstance with a very specific person that it had to be able to make an impact for. And so I ended up spending my thesis in POD really diving into spinal cord injuries, the world of disability, the world of spinal cord injury medicine, and created a series of interventions. For my thesis experience, I created a event where we had a restorative yoga instructor lead a class while recordings of people reflecting on the physical sensation of their spinal cord injury would play, allowing participants to really, feel and experience their bodies in ways that they hadn't before. I created an app called Journey that would pair people with spinal cord injuries with one another, because no two spinal cord injuries are the same. But there's also, no one really knows what it's like going through that rehabilitation journey other than someone who's been through it. And so this was meant to link people across the country who are maybe as close as they physiologically could be to one another with respect to their injuries so that they could support each other through that really difficult rehabilitation journey. I conceptualized a online marketplace called Test Drive where people could delay using their precious wheelchair reimbursement, which only reimburses for one wheelchair every 5 or 6 years, in order to lease a used wheelchair from someone else who had a spinal cord injury so that they could actually understand what it is that they needed in their wheelchair before using that all-important reimbursement. And just for context sake, what happens when people kind of rush into that first wheelchair purchase is they get chairs that aren't actually suited for their lifestyle because they're still going through that process of learning how to navigate the built environment with a wheelchair before, and they haven't completed that process when they're ordering that first chair. But the fundamental thrust of my thesis really focused on catheterization. So people, when they have a spinal cord injury, they have to relearn something that none of us remember learning in the first place, which is how to pee. And so they have to use plastic tubes 4 to 6 to 8 times a day in order to manually release urine. And so Alan had mentioned something about, a key sentence kind of framing the rest of the thesis. And when I was talking to Karina about the worst part of using catheters, she basically said, if you could create a way for me to safely reuse my catheters, that would be amazing, because her insurance coverage didn't cover the number of catheters that she needed in a month. And so I designed this product, a catheter sterilizer that used UV light to sterilize catheters between uses. And basically, having kind of unintentionally focused a lot of my time in graduate school on medical device design, I turned to the next set of questions, which was, what does it actually take to turn an idea into a real product? Because we had gone through all of this process to interview people and become experts in fields that we had no business being experts in, to create these human-centered design concepts. Still being obsessed with that idea of design as a change maker. How do I actually take that idea and turn it into a real product? And because I focused on healthcare, I joined J&J Design, where I continued to work as a design strategist and project manager focused on consumer medical devices, namely in the vision care space, for things like contact lenses and vision surgery. But at the same time, Sinclair was hosting a program that sadly doesn't exist anymore, called the Ground Floor Incubator. And I could say with confidence that if this didn't exist when it did, the rest of my life would have been completely different. But basically, while I was at J&J, after work, I would go across town to the Ground Floor Incubator, and we would have classes that again, taught by folks in industry about how to turn concepts into actual bona fide businesses. And from there, I ended up getting the confidence to start Ori, which is a medical device startup that is taking the product that I designed as part of my thesis in POD and making it into a real product. So there are lots of stats and things that I could throw at you. I've been working at Ori for the last 7 years. if this means anything, we've generated over 1 terabyte of just files. I just checked our Google Drive today. I think that's kind of crazy. We've raised $8.5 million of investor capital. We've gotten $5.4 million of grant funding from the federal government. Making medical devices is both insanely hard and insanely expensive. But we're doing it. This is an image from a board meeting that actually happened 2 years ago now, but we were showing one of our lead investors the device that we've designed. Obviously, it looks insanely different from what I designed in grad school, but that's part of the process of taking a concept and turning it into a real thing. So that's basically my journey since POD.
Amazing. Thank you. We pasted a couple links in the chat. Sorry, I've lost the window. To Sobek's actual presentation, thesis presentation, the thing that we talked about a little while ago, and then also returned to the department a couple years ago to give a talk that really delves deep into what it really takes to get something on the market and to run it through FDA and NIH and just all of it. So much of it is about user research and listening to just the markets to the time. Really an incredible project. I think we're going to move to the MoMA partnership.
Hi, everyone. So we are so privileged to have a unique relationship with the MoMA Design Store and their in-house brand. We used to call it their wholesale division, but their business model has changed, and so we'll just call it their in-house brand. So I'm the steward of this relationship with the MoMA Design Store, and our partner, the head of business over there at the store, Che Costello, isn't able to present tonight, so I'm going to run through her slides. She does an intro of the museum, which of course is the institution of modern art in the world, started in the beginning of the century, and has its own sub-institution, which is the MoMA Design Store. If ever there is a gift shop you need to exit through, it is this one. And to work with them, they have product collaborations in various categories and with huge brands. And to be among the people they collaborate with is a tremendous honor. And after, I think, where are we, 12 years now, we get to wear the prestigious achievement of being the MoMA Design Store's #1 source for new design. They travel the world looking for new products, and when they come to POD, they find more hits than they do anywhere else. We had a fun party, and when was it? I think at the 5th year anniversary. But every year MoMA comes to the department, we introduce a brief to the students, and from there we kick off with their team and we get straight into sketching. We have a really fun round robin where students show each other sketches and do a super fast yes, no, yes, no. My tagline for this is, your goal is something from the consumer experience, something like, I have no idea what that is, but I have to have it. And so the product has to pull that kind of immediate draw. This is like seeing a shiny coin at the bottom of a well. This is old brain mentality from a consumer perspective. So this is for all our conceptualization at POD and all our thinking. We really get down to the brass tacks of instinct and the immediacy of consumer draw through form here. Here's Panisa years ago presenting her geometric coasters, which wound up being the first product that MoMA picked up and manufactured. There they are on the cover of the wholesale catalog in 2017. And here's a double-page spread in the catalog of products from POD, the Tic Tac Trivet set, Josh's Multicino mug, Panisa's geometric coasters, Oscar's chopsticks with these lovely silicone leaves. The other Oscar's Golden Mean bottle opener, and the first Oscar's fidget spinner. Julia's napkins, which have lines printed onto them for how to fold into unique shapes. the products that we make for them are so just immediately fun. It's amazing to propose things to them and see what works for their brand. But we're dealing with a very unique design opportunity here that has enormous spread. And really the whole experience is about fun, but it's also about bringing something to market. This is real. These products are for sale in the store. Here we are at that celebration where the products were out, and Che gave a talk, and there's Panisa and Brandon, and here are 14 products that have been released over the years. There's some new ones. Well, no, there's the jewelry stand, so that must be up to date. The roller coaster is a fun one. The precipitation that rolls off your glass into the bottom, you can then roll around like a maze. The style tumbling tower is Jenga from Rietveld. And the MoMA sliding perpetual counter from G has just been blowing up. I see it all over the place. It's a lot of fun to walk into people's stores and see them using the calendar. And the jewelry stand is really lovely. Comes in a bunch of colors and is so simple and direct. And it's a really wonderful project, and we're really lucky to have it as a part of our experience at POD.
I think I do want to build on it and just let people know MoMA has never worked with any other school or any other department, and we're in our 12th year. And the student's name is on the package of the product and receives a royalty from MoMA. SVA believes that intellectual property belongs to the students. So as a department, we do not take any share, which is not always the case in other schools and universities. Really, the contract is between the student and MoMA. And so this is really an exceptional opportunity and something we're really, really proud of. Julia, this is another really unique aspect to the program, which is our annual job fair. Now, Julia, take it away.
Hello. Yes, I just sent a link in the chat. So job fair takes place every spring. It's the last day before spring break, so it's a great way for our students to go out with a bang before they get a nice couple weeks off or 1 week. And so it's basically it's set up as a matchmaking situation. So we connect various companies, organizations, designers with our current students. And our participants vary from, large big companies and agencies like IBM, SYP, Frog, Spotify, to smaller startups, government organizations, independent design consultants, entrepreneurs. You really try and get a cross section of government organizations, nonprofits, tech, medical, finance. And so it's speed dating essentially for companies and students. So it's an opportunity for students to meet with 7 to 10 of their top participating companies. I'm going to be, in fact, sending out save the dates coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
And so, yeah, a student gets to meet one-on-one with a company representative for 10 to 15 minutes. And it's just like an amazing way to get face time with companies and to practice interviewing skills, present their portfolios, and build a network of design professionals. And in the weeks leading up to job fair, us as a department, we have resume coaching sessions, individual portfolio reviews. So we work really hard to do everything we can to get our students really comfortable and confident to be able to, excel when they meet with these company representatives. And so sometimes they're the HR representatives from the companies. Sometimes they're people within a design capacity. Sometimes we have a lot of actually alumni. So students who get hired at these companies then come back as representatives. And students can just receive a lot of direct feedback on their work. And, we all know the job market it's a thing right now. It's a challenge in this economy. But our companies love it. They come back year after year after year. And, companies, even if they're not hiring, it's a really gratifying, relaxed way for them to spend an afternoon providing feedback and encouragement to our students and the companies just leave feeling energized and excited. And, you never know when one thing can lead to the next. Alan always says that, to companies like, how many of you have projects like cans that have been kicked down the road that you could use help with? Every single company representative raises their hand, and it's like, okay, we have students, talk to them. They can help you with this. So that's that in a nutshell.
Yeah, I will actually compliment you on your work in making it happen. There's typically between 31 and 33 companies that show. Most companies send two people, as Julia says, like a hiring person and a sort of design creative person. And yeah, I mean, in the last little while, it's like, yeah, but we're not hiring. Just like, that's okay. We want you to think of our students when you are hiring. And they do really, really enjoy it. 15-minute speed dates, it's really something. We also do a lot of portfolio coaching, resume coaching, interview coaching. The students are really, really ready for it by the time it rolls around in February. And then they do it again the second year. And at that point, they know exactly what 15 minutes is about and what they can accomplish. They're much more further in their thesis, for instance, and have a very, very strong toolkit and point of view. And sometimes they meet with the companies again, like, oh, I remember you from last year. So it's a really, really special thing that we've been doing from the beginning. Faculty Spotlight. So we have tonight Christine and Chrissy and Dino. And why don't I actually have each of you you could interview yourself, introduce yourself, maybe talk a little bit about your work life, and then a little bit about the courses that you teach here at Products of Design. Christine, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So I'm Christine and I do service design, or actually just design, I would say. I have some digital products that I'm working on. I do a lot of early stage work. So a lot of 0 to 1. What is it? Which usually involves a lot of systems thinking. And then also the service design aspect is a lot of going from physical to digital, thinking about the providers as much as you think about the end customer. So, for example, I've been working with an airport that's opening a new terminal. And you think about the staff and the volunteers and the tools that they have and how that might impact the way they would interact with passengers in the terminal, as much as you think about the passengers themselves and everything that they're interacting with, both digitally, physically, and other humans. So it's very fun to zoom and look out at big systems and then zoom in and look at little moments. And then I work with some AI companies as well, so a little bit all over the place. And then my course is service entrepreneurship. So I work with second years and their thesis, and they look at it through a service design lens. So we have a lot of fun in a short time period. They dig in deeper. What is service design? Because it's one of those things that a lot of folks are like, what is it? So we do some work on that, and then they create services based on their thesis, and they pitch it. And they also do meet. I bring in folks from service design and the entrepreneurial world so that they can learn a little bit about what it's like from a variety of perspectives and have an opportunity to just have a conversation and ask some questions. So
Wonderful. Welcome. Chrissy, do you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about your work in the course that you teach?
Sure. Hi, I'm Chrissy Zenikis. I teach advanced interaction design to the second year students. So really apply what they're working on in thesis to through a digital interaction lens. And it's a hybrid course. I'm currently in LA, and I come in about once a month to work with the students. In my personal practice, I'm the digital product design director, although I've been having to do a little bit more. at a healthcare company called Vana Health. It's a tech-enabled service company, and I develop the digital products and services to support care teams who work with populations who have severe mental illness. What's really kind of special about this job, historically, I've always worked kind of in digital scopes, working on software. What I like about Vana is that I work very closely with the individuals who are working with the populations who have severe mental illness. So I work closely with our coaches and our clinicians, and to give them exactly what they need to help and support our members. But I've been specialized in healthcare for maybe 7-ish years. I started when I was at IBM, and kind of have a robust depth in healthcare data. So in the class, I talk a little bit about, I spend a lot of time talking about like the complexities of software management as well, and kind of I do like high level overviews on some of the tools and collaboration models that you need to work with engineers and product, and how the software all works. Yeah, I think that's about it.
That's great. Welcome. And Dino, welcome back. I was at your final the other night, and Monty showed a bunch of projects. This is your first time teaching here. And maybe you can tell our guests a little bit about the kinds of work that you do, and maybe a little bit more about your course that Monty had shared.
Sure. Yeah, it is my first time teaching. I did help Sinclair with the incubator, so I guess that kind of counts. Maybe
That's
I
right.
lied a little bit. But I think the older I get, it's harder to actually quantify what it is that I've done. But I have just, as I've gotten older, I've come to the definition that I'm just a designer. I love to just be a designer. And the projects that I work on are graphic design. I feel like we stopped using that term. Product design, real products, and architectural projects. And I really do believe that those are just the mediums, and it's your point of view and taste and understanding of the world that you can apply to any of those mediums. And that has gotten me to where I've gotten to. It's allowed me to say yes to a variety of things. And I believe that's why Sinclair asked me to take over the product brand and experience class, because it really does run the gamut of design as it pertains to many mediums. For that specific class, I asked the students to really hone in on an emotion. I do believe that design hinges on emotion, and without it, you don't create things that have meaning. So we very quickly got there on day one and proceeded to create brands and products, and then consequently marketing campaigns, all within a 9-week span. I say 10 weeks, the students like to say 9 weeks because it really was 9 weeks. And what that forced them to do, just by sheer velocity of the class, was to really trust their gut, which is something I really believe in. I told them day one that, research is important, but don't discount the research you do every day by experiencing the world. So trust your gut and be decisive. Again, just by mere function of the class being 9 weeks, you have to make decisions and just go. And it was a little bit like, let's see how this goes. And from what Monty presented, I congratulate them on making it successful. So I'm very proud of the work and very proud to be a part of the program.
Oh, this is great. We're so proud that you've joined us. Again, I had the luck to be able to attend your final. There were very fancy critics there, judges or guests. I found the work just incredibly life-affirming and joyful, which, we really need now. And I was trying to think of like, well, how come that happened? And, I'm pretty confident it's because of you, that you were able to sort of steer these ideas into very, personal and valuable projects with strong points of view. You know, it's hard for me to come up with a question. I wanted to ask the faculty a question, and maybe it's like, what is your favorite part of teaching, but in particular teaching at products of design? And maybe what is like the biggest challenge or the biggest upcoming challenge? Because a couple of you have taught here for quite a while. And I'm wondering how you think about teaching now and teaching next. So maybe we can go back to Christine and see if she can answer this question that I did not, send to the faculty ahead of time. So keeping it live. You can all unmic because you might want to just sort of, jump in too.
Okay. Yeah. Why me first? Anyway, so I think for me, I think it goes back to almost like some of the things that Dina was talking about, and we've seen from the students in the work tonight, the level of thoughtfulness and passion and energy is just, I can't, like, that's just, it's a privilege, and I'm so thankful to have an opportunity to work with individuals that want to do this work, that are doing this work. I mean, that to me is magical, and I think it's something very unique to POD. The ability, I think, from all the disciplines and the way, I mean, the fact that a student tonight highlighted that in the first 10 weeks they already have this idea that, like, no, I have to prototype, I have to make something, and I can't just sit around and talk about ideas. That's
That was music.
that's magical, and it's not a given in many places. So I think that's a huge part of it, and I look forward to like the new ideas and everything that they bring every year, and meeting them and working with them. Challenges, I think it's always, I have a short class, so I think the challenge for me is always, am I putting the right things in? Should I move this? Like, what's the right thing? What did I miss? What are they walking away with that they should have gotten? So it's trying to, I think, curate the right set
Yeah.
and the right approach for it.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Chrissy?
Yeah.
Or you know what? You could be like a politician and just answer any question you want to answer. So
Yeah, there you go. It's a thing that lately. I think I was thinking, I was like, I don't know how a very eloquent way, but like, I love school. I loved being at school. I specifically loved art school. And I, again, like, I think privilege is a good word. It's a privilege to be part of this program and have work with specifically graduate students. I get to work with thesis students, and just being let into your thesis work is really special, and being able to help where I can allows my brain to be the multidisciplinary designer that I really am outside of my job. And I think it helps me be a better designer. But really, I love school. I love going to the studio. I love art school. I mean, I wish we could all send everyone to art school, and the world would probably be better. It's just such a magical is a good word. It's a magical time to be able to make and create. And I think what I really love watching are the cohorts that Alan and team kind of curate, collaborate, and work together. I think that was such a special part of my graduate journey, was learning and collaborating with my peers. And I think that's a really special thing. There were some examples that were even highlighted tonight. That's really special to see, because I think outside of school, like, design is like a pretty collaborative effort. Whether you might be the only designer, but you're working with other people to get the job done. So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that I love.
Yeah.
Coming, that allows me to come back to New York and be part of that, and it's special. And bother
I-
Christine and Sinclair, per usual.
I never wanted to leave school either, actually. It's like the most
You
amazing.
win then.
Yeah, yeah. I get to be around it every day. Sinclair, let me bring you into this because you've been teaching multiple courses from the beginning. What's the most exciting thing for you? And if there are any challenges that you see? Or answer any, any question you'd like to answer.
Any political question. My role primarily at POD has been my lane has been a three-dimensional design lane, the sort of industrial design lane. And though earlier I also had an important experience design class, which maybe one day we'll bring back. But I think the area of growth as somebody who, like Dino, wears a lot of hats as a designer is I get to teach what, by some definitions could be traditional industrial design, but with a much to a student body that's much more not just receptive, but they're getting triggered to receive and understand the depth of engagement of three-dimensional products. They don't understand them just as physical artifacts. They understand them as, sort of as Dino said, they're triggers for emotion. We're talking about a much deeper um, bridge of communication between people and cultures and groups, and a broader way of solving problems than just what does the dingus do and how does it dig a deeper hole? We ask, well, what is the nature of the hole, and does it need a shovel, or does it need a group, or does the group need people? And um, Alan's initial line of, we're no longer in the artifacts business, we're in the consequences business, just initiates this really broad inquiry into, well, what is the right response to the problem? And what are the various consequences to the things that we choose to do, not only in terms of their benefits, but also in terms of their liabilities. We began at a time sustainability was really coming into the center of the conversation. And now it's something we take for granted. This is a sustainability department. Sustainability and the longevity of our work and its benefits is the fabric into which all the work we do is woven. So we take a really broad humanitarian view. We're not just focused on the hard skills of producing the artifacts of design. So it's really a joy to work with that much depth, and to be really philosophical about the work that we do, and to get into a broad conversation. And I mean, the people, when we started, having my little black and white picture on the same page with some of our other faculty members, I mean, it's just an extraordinary honor to work with everybody here. And that includes our students. They come from incredible backgrounds, and I think we draw people with a lot of depth. So it's incredibly exciting and inspiring and exhilarating. How's that?
I think that was really lovely. I will also add again that we've been concentrating a lot or showing a lot of digital and physical products. We also have climate futures class,
Yeah.
behavioral psychology class, design for public policy class. Really take a quick, like a deep look at the curriculum. I think you'll be really inspired by how broad it is. Dino, I think I am going to change the question for you, which is like, how did you feel at the final a couple nights ago?
How did I feel at the final?
Yeah.
I mean, well, like I said before, just extremely proud of the work. It's interesting because I have employees at my studios, and I have students at POD, and then kind of secularly on a family level, I coach my son's hockey team, like I said. So it's just like these three very distinct ways of trying to guide. And I start to think to myself, I'm like, who am I to do any of that, really? But the thing that I saw with the students in the class that obviously I don't see from 12-year-olds playing hockey, or even from, some of my employees. Is just this sheer determination. And this class in particular, and I don't know if it'll be the case for the future ones, but their commitment to really just follow their feelings and point of view. I asked them to do that, and they did it. And there were some classes where I'm just like, are these guys just being stubborn? But they're really convicted. They had a lot of conviction in their work, and it was really helpful to work with them. And I just had a sense of pride at the end of it, that they believed in themselves, and they did really compelling work. And Jonas, who attended the last thing, we went for a drink afterwards, and he was just telling me just how impressed he was.
Jonas David.
Yeah. And Jonas is a mentor of mine, and he doesn't bullshit. So he was just really impressed with the work. So I was happy to hear that from a third party outside of who had nothing to do with the studio. So
right. It's funny when you mentioned about asking yourself a question like, oh, are the students going to? I have to say, I will tell you, more than anyone here needs to know, you are the product brand experience teacher who has called me the least questions about students, or like existential questions, or where are we, and like, when, are they really going to do the homework the night before class? The final's coming up. I invited guests, like, is it going to be okay? So you were an absolute pleasure to work with as a faculty member.
Well, like I said at the final, Alan, I haven't had a boss in 7 years, so maybe I don't know how to do my report. So you let me know if I'm supposed to actually check in with
it was
a little bit more.
It was perfect, more like you. Well, thank you to the faculty. We are actually so perfectly on time. I'm going to move ahead. Oh, look, animation to the raffle. Okay, so you've seen these many, many times now. The MoMA sliding perpetual calendar and the jewelry stand. And here's the question. In what year were the modern interlocking Lego bricks patented? And of course, no Google, and of course, no GPT. Type your answer into the chat. Erica will take a look at those screenshot, and who's ever the two or three that are closest will have their choice of one of those. So go ahead and do that. And before, oh, sorry.
What?
Oopsie.
Whoops.
Did you all type?
Close. Ethan's got an answer.
I mean, the answer is up.
Oh no! And you see that I actually
I had it in there before you switched.
I put this blank slide in.
Extra confident.
$1.
So I had the question slide. I put the blank slide in to slow me down, and I still advanced too quickly. All right. Well, sharing screen, I can't actually see the chat. So the answer is 1958. I think I have to tell this story because, every year we try and come up with an interesting design trivia, and I thought I would ask a GPT. And so it gave me very conventional design answers or questions and answers. And I said, well, can you please be a little bit more creative? And it said, sure. If you took all the products that the MoMA Design Store sells and laid them edge to edge, how long would that be, the distance? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it knows that we actually work with the MoMA Design Store. And the answer was 3 miles, but it depends on how you treat the coasters. And I'm like, this is so brilliant, because the coasters are typically a package of 4, right? And if you laid them out. And then 3 miles seemed a little suspicious. So I said, did you just make that up? And it's just like, yeah, I made that up. You asked for a more creative question. And so then I was, please don't make things up, like, ever. So it had a sense of humor about that. I thought I would share that AI story with you. Please keep in mind, before we let you go, application deadline is January 15th. If you have a question about applying, if you have a portfolio question, if you would like to send us or share your portfolio or have a portfolio consultation with us, We love doing this, particularly if you don't have a background in design or you barely have what you think might be a portfolio. We're happy to meet with you. We want you to have the strongest application possible. Like, we are your fan, we are your cheerleader, so just get in touch. If you attended tonight, we're able to waive the application fee, so that's something really nice. The best thing that you could do to keep in touch with us is to subscribe to our weekly newsletter. Monty and Tristan, ironically, produced that weekly newsletter. I think it is extraordinary. It is not just news about our department, although it has lots of that and upcoming lectures. It also has design resources and links and bonus tracks and things that would be really, really inspiring and affirming in your design practice. If you're in New York City or you're remote, like, come for a visit. We would love you to come. We would love you to sit in on a class or two classes, have lunch, hang out with the students, and just really feel what it's like to be here. There's no replacement for that. If you can't come to New York, we totally understand. We could even maybe like do a Zoom walkthrough with you. But the location, the architecture, and really the vibe in here is something extraordinary. And I think if you are looking at lots of different schools, and typically they're all great, it's nice to actually be here and to feel it and to interact with the students. So if you can come for a visit, sit in on the class, hang out with students. And I think that is it for tonight. I want to thank you for attending and sharing your presence. Thank you to all of the presenters, faculty, staff, particularly students and alumni. It's a joy to see everybody, and it is 9 o'clock, and I am an on-time person, and that is something I am proud of. That's my greatest joy. So thank you, everyone.